It's been scary, no doubt, not having the financial stability that I used to have and all those benchmarks that we are socialized
Yes.
to have and to want and desire. Like all that went out the window, like my
Mhm.
amazing benefits, bye-bye, like all that stuff. But having the privilege to sort of create my life on my own terms going forward and really control my time, because that's what
Yes.
it's about like controlling your time, has been like an immeasurable blessing. And I have never been happier in
Mm.
that I am doing what I want to do and making things happen for myself.
Hello, amazing humans, and welcome to episode number 299 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. I love bringing you women who are real life, right? We are walking the talk. We are out there in the weeds doing our thing. And today is no exception. If you've been like sort of sitting on a dream, sitting on something that's been noodling at you, or you've been scared to take the next best step for yourself because of, all the reasons. Oh my God, the mortgage, the kids, the benefits at your job, how much money you think you can make, but you've got this ache to try something new. I'm really excited to introduce you to today's podcast guest. Her name is Trinette Faint, and she is starting something brand new after what she calls her 10 lives, not just nine, but 10 different lives living inside of the entertainment industry, high tech companies like the ones you've heard of. You'll know, I'll read them to you in just a second. All of these beautiful, beautiful people and industries and jobs and identities that she's had. And she is now taking a year off of all of that to put together something she's been dreaming of that's built on everything she's learned up until this point. And I ask her point blank in today's podcast episode, what would she tell someone who's on the verge and they're not sure what to do next? I really appreciated her answer. I appreciated the honesty. And of course, as with all things, you know what your life circumstances are. You're a grown up. You know what you can and can't afford. You know what's coming. You know how much you need to have in the bank to feel safe. You know how much time you have to spend on your family, your home, your day to day life, taking care of aging parents, all the things everybody's dealing with. But I really hope you take a second today to listen how another fellow human, right, who had an idea was able to piece things together and actually get something going and what that has taken from her and what she's learned along the way. From launching her modeling career in France at 19 to working behind the scenes with Hollywood heavyweights like Matt Damon and Will Smith's production company, Trinette has navigated the worlds of fashion, film, tech, and writing with remarkable agility and vision. You're going to love the stories that she tells inside today's podcast episode about how she's been able to do that and what her current successes look like. As a former Google employee, she has blended creativity and strategy, all while nurturing her own passion for storytelling. She's a published novelist, an award-winning rising screenwriter, and she has also had two TV pilots place as semifinalists in the 2025 Screencraft TV pilot competition. Simultaneously, she continues to model and act, embodying resilience and representation in every space she occupies. My fellow girlfriends, listen to me. I know it can be scary to follow a dream. I know it's like, are you serious? But it really is your one and only precious life. So, what I really hope you take away from today is looking at how you can reflect back on your own life. Notice the skills and talents that were kind of put in your own path, right? That have just sort of been there for you, and start brainstorming on how you could either put those inside the business you're already running, right? I know there's so many of you who are already running businesses who listen, but also looking at maybe what you've ignored. This might be your wake up call. This might be the podcast episode number 299, might be the podcast episode that flips it around just for you. Because I really believe you're here for a reason. I don't think you've been given all of your experiences so you can hate your day job. I don't think that's why you're here. And I think deep down, you know that as well. I'm going to ask you to do something. If that just hit a chord, I also want you to share this episode with other people that you love who are on the verge of doing something amazing for themselves as well. All right, pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Trinette, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Of course, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. So I had so much fun reading your bio, learning more about you. It's like Is there anything that an amazing human could have done? And it's like on your list. It's like amazing. I love that. I was like, I want to be her best friend. So you've done all these incredible things. You've gone all over the place. You've worked with
Yes.
incredible human beings. So I have to ask you,
Okay.
out of all the things that you could be doing on planet Earth, why? Why is this what you've chosen to do with your one and only life?
I think more like it's chosen me. I don't want to be too corny here. I started my life as a teenager modeling and stuff, and that was like kind of my first foray into storytelling through fashion and fashion editorial spreads. I used to have pictures hanging up in my wall as a kid of tear sheets of models and stuff, and that was when I really started to understand like how big the world was, how it was bigger
Mm,
than where I'm from in Illinois. And that my beginning work, my aspiration as a model to make it in the business, that ultimately led to me working in the entertainment business, which opened up all these other doors.
mm,
And I worked as a photographer for a while. So my creativity was always there. And I've just found like different ways to express it like over the course of my life. And now that I've turned to screenwriting and networking, they may seem kind of disconnected, but they actually kind of go together in a way. It's like everything that I've done, it's kind of led to this because
mm,
I've had so many lives, like 9 lives, like a cat, probably actually 10 lives at this point,
uh,
that they all have influenced my ability to want to sort of keep expanding my network and keep growing it and share it with other people and help
mm,
people grow theirs. And the whole impetus behind Trinette Faint was to draw from these different facets of my life and bring different types of people together, entrepreneurs and creatives and stuff, and help other people build their networks and, kind of get out of their comfort zones in some sort of
mhm.
ways.
Yeah.
And with the writing, it's like all the different experiences that I've had through the different career paths and the travel and stuff. It's all been like study in character building and watching and
That is
learning and
interesting.
stuff. And so I put kind of all that into my stories now. So I guess that's what I mean about how it sort of chose me because,
Mhm.
looking back at all the things that I've done, I don't see how I could be anywhere else but where I am today based on the
Mhm.
past.
Yeah. It's so cool sometimes, right? The whole 2020 vision, you can look back and be like, oh, that's where that skill came in. And oh, that's where
Yeah.
that experience came in, right? It's like, oh, thanks. I was being guided this whole time and I didn't even realize.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
And so
that's
much
so
of it
cool.
is just about like following my curiosity and being open and seeing where it leads. And it's always led me to these really interesting places. And I'm able to put all that into my screenwriting now and bring sort of that curiosity to my Shea Faint events and helping people build networks and stuff.
I love that. I love that. Well, let's get to Shay Faint because I want to talk about kind of this networking idea. And I know you have a really, I think, both accurate. I really want to dive into how you came up with this perspective, but I think it's a very accurate perspective of traditional networking. I
Yeah.
think that we have humans as we've just changed so much. I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
everybody's lonely in a different way, but like people are so
Right.
tired of people being like, what can I get from you? What can you? It's just like, oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
when you say networking is broken, I really want to know what that means to you specifically and how you help guide people through different ways to do
Sure.
this.
Well, I think like the word networking can have like this kind of cringy like effect because you would tend to think of it as, oh God, like I'm at this corporate, conference,
Mhm.
and now we're all being forced into the hotel lobby to socialize, like this forced socialization. Yeah, so I used to hate this idea of being like forced to socialize and network with colleagues and people that you don't know,
Yeah.
from these kind of like really kind of formal settings, like here's your pick and a blanket and your M's delight, like talk to this person, here's your business card, like that sort of thing. Like we go from that to more recently, the very, I think, impersonalization of traditional networking online sites. I'm not naming names, but we
Mm.
all know them,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
everybody's getting like all this spam that is not relevant to them.
Yes. All day.
Yeah, all day. And you're like, dude, did you read my profile? Like, do you know, like, why would you send me something
Mhm.
like this sort of thing?
Mhm.
So those sorts of things like do not help, what you think of as networking, because that is where we are in today's world. And what I want to do with Shea Faint, or what I'm doing with it rather, is I'm bringing really interesting people together
Mm.
that are, risk takers and creatives and thinkers and, just really cool people, and bringing them together for conversations. They might not know each other, but I'm the common factor because, again, I've had 9 or 10 lives. So I can bring these different folks together and know that, okay, this person will definitely be able to relate to something that this person is going through. And this person will surely, be able to talk to this person about the job they're looking for, like that
Mhm.
sort of thing.
Mhm.
And just like really bringing back, the authenticity of it, because that is what's missing
Yeah, I would
these
agree.
days. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Okay. Sarah moment. Sorry. I'm just going to
Oh,
be honest. Yeah. So recently I hired a dating coach. I've started dating. Heaven help us all. My children are like,
you.
what's happening?
Good for you.
Yeah, I know. They're like, well,
I've
come
done it
on.
just with that.
Let's go. It's so funny. And I was talking to my dating coach and I was like, well, I like this one. I like that. She goes, you don't know them. And I was like, oh, dang. I was like, she goes, this is like all made up. And I was like, oh my God, that's like business. I mean, I didn't say that to her, but in my head, I was like, that's what's happening. And I was just thinking about what you're doing inside of networking. It's like you think you know someone because you've commented on a couple of posts, or there's like these networking sites out
Yeah.
there, but like you don't know them.
No.
And on the one hand, we're so, I want to say, privileged and lucky and blessed to be in this world. Like you and I can have this Zoom conversation and not be in the same room, but we get a real sense of each other. And we're so
Yeah.
lucky to have that. But it's still so different when you get to
Right.
sit down face to face and actually meet each other and like shake hands or even hug if you've guys been talking on Zoom forever, like whatever that is. But
Yeah.
that human element, that authenticity, that is so hard to get through the screen
It is so hard.
or
Yeah.
through posts, And I think what you're
Yeah.
doing is so important.
And you really can't get it through posts. Like, it's nice to get those little serotonin boosts or whatever through the post, but when you physically bring people together, it's like a callback to the 1990s. I miss
Mm,
the 90s, when you would naturally congregate with people. I lived in New York for a big part of the 90s during the whole Sex and the City time, and it was fun, Joe. It's like those sorts of like real connections, they really need to be fostered now. Those sorts of intentional environments, like you really have to bring people together
mhm.
because everybody is busy,
Yes.
obviously. Everybody has this going on and that going on, and busy jobs and busy lives and everything. But it's so important to consciously take a step back and be like, you know what, I'm going to go to this event because I know Trinette, I know what she's doing, and I know it's going to be fun. I know it's going to
Mhm.
be interesting. I know I'm going to get something out of it. It's not just like networking for networking's sake, like you would have done in a Sheraton hotel lobby, once upon a time with some pigs in a blanket. Like,
Oh
no,
gosh.
it's like,
Don't bring it back. Don't bring it back. Yes. Oh, I just
sorry.
went there. Oh, yes.
But it's like it's the real deal. And I keep the numbers, fairly intimate because I want people to have like a really solid experience and really be able to get to know other people and talk to people and stuff.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And how has kind of connecting with people like that throughout your career, all of your 10 lives, right? How have those deep connections really affected you? Like what's happened in your own life when you've been able to have those connections that are a little bit more authentic, that feel a little bit more organic, even in this world where we know nothing is organic because we're all being fed stuff all the time.
Right.
But what has that done for you? Like, what do you feel is different? Because I was in the city in the 90s too. God, that was so fun.
I
But
love
like, what's different between then and now? What do you want to bring back? What do you feel it's affected for you?
Well, I feel for me, like, back then, this was before we had social media, we had beepers, right? In
Yeah,
BlackBerry.
or you had to text by pressing
Yeah, yes.
ABC,
And when you
DEF.
said it was still that time when you
Yeah.
said to somebody, I'll meet you at, I don't know, Soul House or whatever, at 7 o'clock, you had to show
Hmm.
up. You were there. it was like that accountability was like just baked into the culture.
Yeah.
And that piece seems to be gone because it's way too easy to just like not show up or to ghost somebody or,
Seriously, all those things. Yeah.
yeah, all those things. But so for me, like over the course of my lives, when that was more the culture that I was in these different areas, it's really given me long lasting, really true connections. And now, like in these new phases that I'm in, so people that I met when I worked in the entertainment business, like I can call on them today and be like, hey, could you read this story? Or, I have a question about this or that or something like that. Like, I feel like I have mentors everywhere,
Hmm.
just like people that I could reach out to and talk to. I'm seeing one of them actually in 2 weeks, I guess. I'm going to San Francisco and I'm doing a Shade Faint event there. There was a woman that I worked with in Denver. I worked at a newspaper there in the photography department. And I just always like super admired her. And I reached out to her. I was like, oh, I think I'm doing an event. Like, are you available? She's like, oh my God, yes, I'd come even if it were just you. And
Oh,
like this is somebody I've known for so long now that that I have that relationship with now. That I could just
hmm.
pick up the phone or drop an email and say, hey, I'm going to be there. And she's there. So
Yeah.
that sort of stuff is really like grounding and humbling, like in this stage of my life, knowing that I have all these real connections of people behind me
Yeah.
that will always be there, for me at any time.
I love it. I love it. I think that's so wonderful. And that kind of depth in a relationship, I think is getting harder and harder to find. And I love hearing real world stories about how people are staying in touch, what's happening, how valuable these relationships are, not so I can get something, right?
Yeah,
But just this idea, there's so much, like every single person is like this window into a whole new world you don't currently have access to.
right.
Right. And so being able to kind of like open that window and be with them and learn about them and stay curious about them. When you're hosting these events afterwards, do you ever support or help people or talk about how people can maintain those relationships authentically? Because I think there are a lot of people struggling with that right now.
That is true. Well, I make sure that everybody's connected, like while we're there, we'll, hey, where are you? Where are you? Like that sort of thing. And, just make sure people know the best place is to stay connected to people. Like it's usually not LinkedIn, so that they have those tools. And then I will follow up with folks. And if like I did one in my home here a few months back. And what I did was afterwards, I sent out a note, obviously thanking people for coming, and I shared the playlist. So you could just like have a
Oh, that's
memory of the
great.
evening. Like that theme was called Summertime in Paris. So I made the bomb playlist, girl. It was so good.
Oh, I want that one. I send it to me. Send
I
it to
will.
me.
So good. So good.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So really getting into more like how somebody's a person, not just how where they work and what they do,
Exactly.
right? Because I don't know. I don't want to be defined only by what I do. I love what I do, but I don't want that to be the only thing someone thinks of, you know?
Right. And because that's only just part of you, it's not all of you.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So, in you getting to know other people better, you've also, I'm so excited about this. So, hi, you're taking a gap year. Do I have this right? Like, I love that you got to know all these other people so well. Are you taking this year to like get to know you really well? Like, I have to hear everything about this. Like, what inspired you to take
Yeah.
a gap year? What's happening? What does a day look like? Tell us all the things.
So I had a job at a big tech company for 6.5, 7 years or something like that, which I lost last November.
Okay.
It was a super tough time. I had just lost my dog, and then that happened, and then I had to have like another knee surgery. It was like
Oh, Trinette.
how much shit can happen at once, and it was all that.
Oh my goodness. That's a
Yeah, it
lot.
was pretty tough.
Yeah.
What I sort of when I was coming out of that experience or out of the initial kind of shock, grief, pain, like the whole thing,
Yeah.
the holidays, I just said, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to really just be the full creative person that I am, because I'd always been doing different things in the shadows of like any job I'd ever had for like as long as I could remember. But it was just very rare that I now have this space to really jump into everything, full speed ahead.
Hmm.
not being stuck in someone's calendar or at a team meeting or just in meetings all day, like needless meetings all day. Geez,
Thank you.
just this
Yeah.
back nonsense that I could use all that energy for myself.
Yes.
And I was in the extremely rare, fortunate position in that, I don't have children, so I could make this judgment call, and that I had a severance package and stuff. And I just had like time,
Mm-hmm.
time to think, time to like really, think about what I wanted the future to look like.
Yeah.
And I'd already earned my feature film writing certificate from UCLA last summer, June of 24. And I'd already entered my TV pilots in a TV contest, and they had already placed us in my finals. So I already had this like very strong validation
Yeah.
from the biz, that
The tough
yes,
business.
I can write and that I can tell a story. And I'd already previously published like my 2 novels and stuff, and I had already done acting and modeling and everything, but I just wanted to do these things at a higher level and do it more.
Mm-hmm.
So I just decided I'm just going to do it. So I'm in the middle of this gap year now, and I have had just like the most amazing experiences.
Mm.
Like it's been scary, no doubt, not having the financial stability that I used to have and all those benchmarks that we are socialized
Yes.
to have and to want and desire. Like all that went out the window, like my
Mm-hmm.
amazing benefits, bye-bye, like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But having the privilege to sort of create my life on my own terms going forward and really control my time, because that's what
Yes.
it's about like controlling your time, has been like an immeasurable blessing. And I have never been happier in
Mm.
that I am doing what I want to do and making things happen for myself.
Yes. Yes.
Whereas, I could still make stuff happen for myself before, but it would take 10 times as long because I had a very demanding day job and
Yes.
just no bandwidth at the end of the day, just exhausted,
Yeah.
still doing things after hours and on weekends and stuff, but like it's just a whole other ball of wax. Like when I wake up every day and I have my list that I usually make the night before of I got to do this, make these calls, do this, and this, and can control all that and control like my travel schedule and just like really follow my curiosity.
Yeah. It's such a gift, isn't it? I mean, it's scary as hell
Really,
sometimes, let's be honest, but it is such a joy to
it's such a
be
joy.
in
It's
control
such a
like that.
joy.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've really come to understand is that the universe will certainly step in and protect you and give you wings and stuff as you go.
Mm-hmm.
We've all heard this before, but it's like very hard to understand it, like unless you're in it. Like 1 second, if I'm freaking out about something, I have to tell myself don't panic. And then the next second, let's say a week later, I'll get something that comes through that like,
Yes.
wow, okay. you know,
Yeah. I will
these
say, I hear that experience so often from people. I was just talking to a client today where
mhm.
she was like, I just made a $1,200 investment. I knew it was the right thing to do. I had to do it. And I came home and I was like, listen, universe, this was really important. I knew this was the right step. And she goes, and I came home and I checked my bank balance and there'd been a deposit for that exact amount. And I was like, of course, like, but
Wow.
it's so magical, right? You live in it and you see it, and it's
Yeah,
so freaking scary to
it is
actually
scary.
do, right?
It is
And there are
scary.
people
Yeah.
who've made big mistakes doing that, right? Like it's not magical thinking, but it's a step of faith. So I would love to know, like, let's say someone's listening right now and they're like, this is calling to me. Like, oh my God. What advice would you give someone who's like this close to taking the time to really own their days again, to
Yeah.
release all the socialization, right? The massive fear we have in the
Yeah.
United States about not having benefits. What's going to, all the fear that we just get pummeled with constantly,
Yeah.
and working through that as someone who's actively working through that. What would you say?
I would say to not overthink it so much and to just do it. Now, obviously, everybody is not in the position that I was in. that suddenly was released into this sort of,
Into the wild.
yeah,
Yes.
into the
Yes.
wild.
Yeah.
I fully appreciate that people have, responsibilities, mortgages, jobs, kids, the whole thing. However, none of us are getting any younger. That's number one. And the way this world is going, we could all drop dead tomorrow. Number two. So, you know,
The truth. The truth.
it's
Yes.
true though,
Yes,
but
it absolutely
don't
is.
want to have any regrets based around fear. And I can just say that if you allow yourself the permission to take those steps to where you want to be, whatever it is, that there will be a payoff.
Yes.
And it may not even be monetarily. I mean, it certainly won't be monetarily for a while, but like the peace of mind and knowing that you are taking control of your destiny in the way that feels good for you, that that you're honoring yourself. Like you can't measure that.
Agreed. Agreed.
You just really have to do it. And you also, if you're going to really take that step and go for it, you have to be ready to like really make that hard turn. And if you say, okay, my calling is XYZ, I'm just going to do it. It may look like, it's an easy jump from A to B, but there's a whole row of alphabet letters in between them to get there. And you have to be willing to stay focused, to stay calm, to not panic, and to just do it. And know that every little step that you're doing is leading somewhere. And it doesn't even have to be this massive thing. Like it could be something as simple as, I don't know, I am terrified of public speaking and I want to learn how to, I don't know, sing a song in front of a crowd. Something like that, right?
Yeah. I think that's a great example. Yeah.
That could be your thing. And you know what? You can do it. You can start by taking voice lessons.
Right.
Just to get used to using your voice differently. Then you can take a little next step. You can
invite people over.
Yeah,
and do it
invite
for
people
them.
over. You can,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's things that you can do to get to where you want to be, but you can't be afraid of it. When I turned 40 a million years ago now, I'd had this idea of in my 40s, I wanted to sing like in public. I used to sing growing up, but like just in church. And I think like in the school choir, by no means was there a Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey situation going on, but can hold a tune. So when I turned 40, I was like, I feel like that's something that I want to do in my 40s, like have a little concert or something. So I reached out to a friend of mine who's a musician, and I was like, do you want to, play the guitar for me and I'll do this thing? And she said, yes. So we practiced this song, and she has a much bigger following. She has famous musical parents. And so it was very easy for her. And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. But we got some people together at a bar in Boston. And, I just got up there and did it. I was like, I'm not going to die. Like,
that's the thing, right? It feels like you might. Like, let's be clear. It feels like you might.
Yeah.
But you won't. You won't.
Yeah. Like, I remember the first song, it was one of her songs. I just felt like I just demolished it. And then, like, we did the next couple, and then, it got better. And we had somebody like recording it and like put it on YouTube or whatever. And like, now I'm like, yeah, I did that.
I did that.
Whatever.
And isn't that just like the most important feeling? Like to come to that moment where you're like, I did that.
Yeah.
It didn't go the way I thought it might, or I was surprised by certain things or whatever. We can't map out every step, but to have the courage to take the first couple steps, it's just everything. It's just everything. Yeah.
And it's all just about confidence. I would also tell people to take an acting class, because that's one of the things that I did when I was going through everything over the last winter through spring. I signed up for all these courses. I was really trying to manage my grief in a lot of ways and trying to save myself and stuff. And I signed up for all these courses. And one of the classes, just this very small thing, they had us introduce ourselves to the rest of the class.
Yeah.
And some people are very timid, they're shy. Oh, my name is Jan and blah, 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 live in blah, blah. And the guy was like, no, go do it again. And he's like, pretend you have a hype song in your head and come back out and like, this is a safe space to really do it. And by the end of the course, this particular class was just like a 2-day course, but by the end of it, people were like, yes, my name is blah, 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 like just really kind of going for it. But that is an example of that very small thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, and you can take that confidence that you learn from a class like that, you can take that into your job and like ask for a raise.
Oh, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I'm so happy you said that. I used to
Yeah.
tell people to take acting classes all the
Yes.
time, and I haven't been saying it lately. And you're so right.
Girl, because let me tell you, it's got
Oh,
nothing to do about learning how to read a line.
right. It's about
That's like the
presence.
secondary thing about it. It is about connecting
Mm,
yourself to your own emotion and then bringing that and interpreting like whatever script you're reading. And it actually makes it easier to memorize the lines when you're connected to the character and like you understand it and stuff.
yeah.
But yes, I would highly suggest everybody take an acting class because it is like therapy.
Oh, so good. It is like therapy. I
It
think
is
you're
like
right
therapy.
about, I don't think people quite understand how much like therapy it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That ability to tap into emotions. And then I also think it's presence. And, one of the things I really impress upon, obviously anyone who listens to the podcast, but also clients or people I'm speaking with, is that our energy, the way you walk into a room, the way you walk onto screen, the way you pick up the phone, the way people feel when they're
Yeah.
with you makes
Yeah.
such a difference
Yeah.
in how they interact with you and what ends up happening. And this leads me to like the geek out question I have for you. Oh my God, I feel like I'm 5. Oh my God. Presence, composure, charisma.
Hmm?
I have it on good authority that you got to work behind the scenes with Matt Damon and Will Smith. These are not small names. So you have to help me
No,
now.
they're not.
What is their charisma like? What are their energy levels like when no one's watching? I would love to know that. I've always wondered things like that. Just how does someone, when the cameras are off, when no
Yeah.
one's watching, how do they carry themselves? I would love to learn from that and understand more.
Well, I've been around as a consequence of those worlds
Yeah.
and my work at Tribeca Film Festival, where I work directly with the jury. Oh, I got a crazy story to tell you about that. So in that role, I was a jury special guest coordinator, so it meant I made sure that the jurors saw the screenings and
I
stuff
see.
at
Mm-hmm.
the time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the jurors that year was Her Majesty Queen Noir from Jordan. And I remember I had to go with the driver to pick her up at the airport. I think it was Teterboro. She would have been flying privately and
Of
picked her up,
course. Yeah.
drove back to Tribeca. And in the car, like we just had this like very normal conversation. I remember I was wearing a pair of Gucci heels. I don't even know why I remember this. And it was raining and like the inside, they were like a pair of mules and the inside got messed up or something. So we just started talking about shoes. And she was just like this very normal person. And I just thought to myself, oh my God, like I can't even believe this is, like, yeah, Matt and Will, whatever. But like Her Majesty Queen Noir, like, what?
Yeah.
Right? And we're just like having a chat. Shoes.
Great. I think those moments are so important, though, to recognize. I mean, I say this all the time, right? I'm sure you do too, but like everybody's just a person. But there's like a management of energy, there's a
Yeah.
management like of time and discipline and those sorts of things, of course. But I just keep coming back to that energy, like the energy of a person. You can just joke around and have a conversation about shoes. Like that's
Yeah.
an inviting, warm, beautiful energy to have.
Yeah, exactly. And with someone like Matt, I was his assistant, so obviously I knew like everybody in his orbit, his family, and his all his business people and stuff. So that was a very, I don't know, I guess like a sibling like relationship, because we
Yeah.
were like super close. So you have to be when you're basically running Spice Life
Yeah.
for long.
Absolutely.
Will has a great presence, and he's very like magnetic,
Mm,
but I guess you'd have to be when you're somebody like that, like
I think so.
he's not
Yeah.
only the actor but the musician, and that just takes a whole bunch of
Incredible.
willingness to be going through the world like that. And he's like obviously very tall and something like that. But yeah, but they're just like people, and I'm 6'1". I'll just say that. So
You're like, I'm not tiny.
yeah,
Okay.
very
Yeah.
few things intimidate me, and people in that business are generally not as tall.
Right. Right. No, it's true.
um,
It's true.
yeah. I remember once with Matt, I don't remember where we were, but we'd walk down the street and guys would catcall, whistle, or so, or say stuff at me. But then when they get like pass, if I'm walking with him, they wouldn't like even notice him because they were like, "Oh my God, it's so tall." Blah 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 blah. Blah, blah,
He's
blah.
like, can you just walk in front of me the whole way? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
And then like he one day he said to me, he's like, "Oh, T, I like walking with you because nobody notices me."
Yep. Yep. There it is. There it is. Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you're
that's so
welcome.
good.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You're like, no problem. Anytime. Do you think you learned anything being in those orbits, or did you take anything
Yeah.
away that you still carry with yourself?
Yes, especially with Matt, I got very used to being like on production sets. I tapped into my creativity a lot more during that
Mm,
experience. I started doing photography. I was like hanging out with the set photographers. He gave me my first camera, funded my first portfolio.
great.
And then I went to photography school for a year in New York and stuff. And now, as a writer, an actor, screenwriter, and stuff, I just recently finished my first short film that I wrote, produced, directed, and starred in.
Congratulations.
Co-directed. Correct myself. Yes, thank you. And that whole thing, like, seeing it as an assistant or as somebody who could just like walk away and go sit in the trailer for a few hours while they're all,
Right.
is very different from like actually doing the work and like putting it all together and like
Mhm.
writing it and like doing all these things. I was like, man, this is exhausting. Like, it's wonderful, but it's exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. And your name's on the line too, right? You're like, my name's on that. Yeah. It's just a different game.
It's a totally different game.
Yeah.
So, I guess that was a big thing that I took from that, like just that kind of exposure
Mm.
and this sort of North Star that was like built in me that one day, I would sort of emulate that in my own
Yeah.
way. And, that's kind of what I'm doing now. What I'm
I
on the path
love
of
that.
doing now. Yeah.
Well, I think, listen, what is that stat about salaries, right? Like the five people closest to you, if you take their average salary, it's probably your salary. But I take it, like that's where that idea started, that who you hang out with matters. And I think there's so much more to it than just the money. That does end up being statistically true. But
Yeah.
I think it's the ambition, it's the creativity, it's the grit, it's
Yeah.
the humility that comes with having your name on something and people don't like
Yeah.
it, or having your name on something and all of a sudden everybody wants a piece of you and you're like, do you don't know who I am? Like all those things that
Right.
can happen, and
Right.
who you hang out with and who you role model after, like that just matters, you know? It just
Yeah.
really changes our
It really
perspective
does.
of the
It,
world.
it really does.
Yeah.
And that's why like just access to these different areas for people is just so important. That's part of the reason that I wrote my first book, Let's Caleb, because I would always read these books, novels where there's a heroine and she was typically like a really skinny white woman and she's kind of fumbling her way through the world and she gets the big guy in finance at the end or whatever the industry is. And, that's well and good, la-di-da. But I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, okay, that's fine. But like, where's the story of the character who's a Black woman who's at the center of a story, typically in an international setting, living with as much agency and confidence as anybody,
Yeah.
who is not like defined by their race, where it's not even like necessarily like a thing in the story. It just is like, where's that story of us just existing?
There's the power.
Just
There's the power.
we
Yeah.
are, you know?
Yeah.
And I said,
Yes.
I do exist because I'm in these A-list spaces. Like I've worked for, private equity companies. I've worked for the president of Harvard University. I've worked at Tribeca. I've sat in the Harvard Queen, like all these things. But like, where's that story?
I love
So
it.
I wrote that story as my, I guess, answer to that story. Colette, she's an assistant to an actor and fashion designer. Okay. All right. Okay. It's not my story, but she finds herself in this like crazy love triangle with her co-star and, I'm sorry, his co-star and himself. So it's a very saucy tale of,
I like sassy. This sounds amazing. I'm like, tell me more. Yeah. No, it sounds so good. It sounds so good.
very good. And that's one of the ones that I'm adapting that play says it's in my final and stuff. And I'm able to write about that because, like I've been in that world and obviously like everything I've written is like fictionalized and stuff. But, just back to like building a character, we deserve to be seen in all these different ways as everyone else. And I didn't necessarily see that type of character growing up. And then obviously Shonda Rhimes, came through with, Olivia Pope, and like, hey, let's get it, girl. Let's get it. But, in general, like I just wasn't seeing it. So that's like the perspective that I write from and create characters from. And the two stories that placed as semifinalists, both of those have Black women at the center of the stories, and they are kind of out in the world, traveling and doing all these things. Cause I'm like, well, I'm out in the world and I see other Black women like out in the world. So it's gonna reflect that.
Why is this not represented? Yeah, I love it. Oh my God, I love it. And I can see so much why these chafing events, these networking moments, these like, I want to say curated almost. I hope that's all right. But I like these curated moments where you are bringing worlds together and having people connect as people, and why that matters so much to you. I'm so grateful that you're doing what you're doing on so many levels, telling the stories that need to be told, bringing people together when they need to, taking everything you've learned from all of the different places you've been.
Yeah. And not just
gorgeous.
in the US. Like I kicked off this company with an event in Rome back in July, I think was my first event in Rome. And then I had like a mini Shea Faint when I was in Montpellier, and I'm going back to France, as I was telling you a little bit before, in November, and I'm doing one in Saint-Jean-de-Luz in this town in Biarritz I've never been in, but I've got a friend who lives there, and so she's going to help me. We're going to pull something together. And then like another one in Montpellier, and if I can pull something together in Paris, I'll do something in Paris. So
call me.
Again.
By the way, hi. Oh, hi. Did I just say that out? Was that out loud? Did everybody hear that? Yeah. I'm like, oh, that sounds incredible.
I'm like, hey, Sarah, meet me at the airport. Hi. You and Charles, Diggle.
Call me. Yeah, no, that sounds heavenly. And I'm so grateful you're doing this, because I do think this is a moment in our shared humanity where deep personal human connection is so vital, and it's so needed, and it's so been undermined, and it's time to bring it back. So I really appreciate you. I honor the work that you're doing. I'm so grateful you're doing it.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful you spent some time with
And it's just a lot of fun too. It really
is the best.
Fun to just get together with people, have like a fantastic meal, and just watch the sparks fly. Just watch them fly.
Oh, and I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. All right. Well, listen, thank you again so much for spending time with us today. I so appreciate you. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.